In the realm of thought-provoking science fiction, one name stands above the rest. Black Mirror. A show that doesn't just predict the future, it dissects the human soul through the lens of our tech-obsessed society. Since its move from Channel 4 to Netflix in 2016, Black Mirror has evolved from cult British treasure to global cultural phenomenon. With every episode, creator Charlie Brooker pushes us to question not only our relationship with technology, but the very essence of our humanity. Now, in its 7th season, the series offers something quietly revolutionary with episode 5, Eulogy. A story not just about innovation or artificial intelligence, but about regret, ego, and redemption. Eulogy flips the typical Black Mirror narrative on its head. Here, the danger isn't the machine, it's the man. And it asks a piercing question: when we finally have the tools to confront our past, will we have the courage to face what we find? Let's journey into one of the most emotionally raw and haunting stories Black Mirror has ever told. The episode stars Paul Giamatti as Philip, a solitary, aging man whose best years are long behind him. He's not a villain, but he's far from a hero. He's spent decades nursing a wound he's never spoken of, a wound named Carol Royce. When Carol dies, a high-tech funeral service reaches out to Philip, inviting him to contribute to her eulogy. It's an offer that drags his pain back to the surface. But the service has a twist. It's not just about words. It's about memory. Philip is given a device, a small grain, the same kind we've seen in episodes like The Entire History of You. Once installed, the device activates a program known only as the Guide. A digital assistant designed to help navigate one's memories, to unearth, analyze, and in some cases help understand what went wrong. Philip is hesitant, bitter. After all, Carol left him. As far as he's concerned, she's the reason for his decades of grief. He accepts the device not to mourn, but to finally say his piece, to finally set the record straight. What follows is not what he expected. He enters his memories, but something is off. Carol is absent from them, literally invisible. Others are there. Friends. Moments. But not Carol. The Guide explains it's because Philip, in his bitterness, erased her from his mind, both consciously and subconsciously. All those torn-up photos, all those years of denial, they didn't just erase her image from his walls. They erased her from his mind. Philip is shocked. And angry. But the truth, as we'll come to see, is far uglier than he's prepared to accept. As the Guide dives deeper, we begin to see glimpses of a younger Philip and Carol. They were in love, a powerful, passionate love. They made music together. She played the cello. He adored her, or at least, he thought he did. But as the Guide continues to parse through his memories, the cracks begin to show. Carol had dreams. She wanted to move to New York. Explore art. Grow. But Philip didn't want her to grow. He wanted her to stay. To stay the same. To stay his. Philip was insecure. Possessive. Jealous. When Carol left to pursue her dreams, he didn't support her. He resented her. He accused her of abandoning him, of putting her art before their love. And worst of all, he retaliated by cheating. A single night with a mutual friend named Emma. A mistake Philip never admitted to. A sin he justified by convincing himself that Carol would eventually leave him anyway. When Carol came back to visit him in New York, Philip thought it was their second chance. He proposed in public. A grand, performative gesture. But Carol broke down in tears and fled. Philip didn't understand why. Not then. But the Guide does. She reveals what Philip refused to see in that moment. Carol was pregnant. She wasn't drinking that night. Her body had changed. She came not to reject Philip, but to tell him. To try, one last time, to reconnect. She even left a letter in the hotel room. A letter he never read because in his rage, he trashed the room and walked out of her life. He never knew the truth, until now. And then comes the twist only Black Mirror could deliver. The Guide is not just an AI assistant. She is Kelly, Carol's daughter. The child born from that brief, final attempt to reconnect. The child Philip never knew he had. A child he could have raised. A child who, years later, came to him not for vengeance, but for understanding. Kelly is a digital copy of herself, uploaded to the memory system to guide Philip through his own redemption. She wants to know who her mother was and who Philip really is. But what she finds is a man buried beneath layers of ego and guilt. A man who spent his life blaming others for his pain, without once acknowledging his role in it. As they continue through his memories, the guide, Kelly, pushes him to confront himself. To admit that his love for Carol was selfish. That he tried to shape her into who he wanted her to be, not who she was. Kelly questions whether he would have even accepted the truth if Carol had told him. Philip insists he would have. But deep down, he knows that's a lie. And then they find it. The memory of the letter. In the real world, Philip searches through an old box, and there it is. Folded, yellowed with age. He opens it. In Carol's handwriting, a heartbreaking message: she chose him. She came to say she wanted a life together with their child. But she was afraid. Unsure if he'd be the man she needed him to be. When he erupted in rage, she got her answer. She left. And she never looked back. The weight of the truth crushes Philip. His entire life, he believed Carol left him. But in reality, she gave him a choice and he turned away. Not because she wasn't enough, but because he couldn't see beyond his own hurt. This realization breaks him. And for the first time, he weeps. Not from anger, but from clarity. He sees what he did. How he let ego drive his decisions. How he projected blame instead of owning his flaws. How he turned love into a weapon. Carol, for all her heartbreak, never hated him. In fact, she spoke kindly of him to Kelly. She wanted Kelly to know the good in him, the part she believed still existed. And maybe, that part can still exist. At Carol's funeral, Philip finally shows up. It's a quiet, solemn affair. Kelly, the real Kelly, is there, playing the cello, just like her mother used to. She sees him walk in. Their eyes meet. She tears up. He offers a small, respectful nod. No words are exchanged. But something unspoken passes between them. Forgiveness. Not complete. Not immediate. But possible. At home, Philip slips back into one last memory. And for the first time in decades, he sees Carol again. She's young. Radiant. Bathed in sunlight, playing the cello. And she smiles at him. He cries. Not from loss. But from finally remembering what love, real, selfless love, is supposed to feel like. Eulogy is one of the most emotionally raw episodes Black Mirror has ever produced. Where past episodes like White Bear and Metalhead terrified us with dystopian futures, Eulogy terrifies us with something much closer to home: ourselves. It's a sobering portrait of toxic masculinity, regret, and the price of pride. Philip's journey is not about redemption in the traditional sense. It's not about fixing the past, that's impossible. It's about understanding the damage he caused, so that he can finally begin to heal. The technology in this episode isn't evil. It doesn't manipulate, or control, or punish. It reveals. It forces characters and viewers to confront the truth we hide from ourselves. And in a media landscape where so many stories rush to blame tech, Eulogy reminds us that the root of darkness often lies within the human heart. The past can't be changed, but it can be understood. And sometimes, that understanding is the only path to peace. In the end, Eulogy is not just Philip's story. It's Carol's story. Kelly's story. It's the story of everyone who's ever looked back and wished they'd said something different, done something sooner, or loved a little better. It's a warning. A plea. Say what you need to say. Before it's too late.